My boyfriend proposed at dinner, then his side chick walked in pregnant. Turns out he was going to choose between us based on who reacted better. I handed her the ring and walked out. Now he's alone with child support. He had the waiter bring out the ring in a champagne glass, and I was halfway through saying yes when a pregnant woman walked up to our table and called him baby. I'm sitting there with this ring box in my hand, completely frozen, and she's got her hand on her stomach looking between us like she's trying to figure out what's happening. My boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, I guess, goes white, like actually loses all the color in his face. She says, "Marcus, who is this?" and he starts stammering, and I look at her stomach. She's showing, like clearly pregnant, maybe 5 or 6 months. I put the ring box down on the table very carefully and I ask him how long. He doesn't answer. He's doing this thing where he opens his mouth but nothing comes out, so I ask her instead. She tells me 8 months. They've been together for 8 months and she's 5 months pregnant, and he told her he was taking her to dinner tonight to celebrate the pregnancy. She pulls out her phone to show me texts and I see, "Can't wait to celebrate with you tonight, babe, 7 p.m. at Marcello's." Same restaurant, same time. He literally double booked his own proposal. I start laughing, I can't help it. It's so insane that I'm just laughing and they're both staring at me, and the people at the next table are definitely listening now. He finally finds his voice and goes, "I can explain," and I say, "Explain what exactly?" He says he was trying to figure out what to do. He didn't know how to choose, so he thought he'd propose to me and tell her about the baby plan tonight and see how things went. The pregnant woman, I don't even know her name, says, "What the hell does that mean?" And he tells us both, right there in the middle of this nice restaurant, that he was going to decide between us based on who handled it better. Like it was a test, like he was going to pick whichever one of us was calmer or more understanding or more convenient. She starts crying. I'm still holding this ring box. The waiter is hovering nearby looking like he wants to be anywhere else. I stand up, walk around the table and hand her the ring box. I tell her, "You can pawn it for diapers." She's just staring at it in her hand. Then I look at him and I say, "I hope she's worth the child support," and I walk out. I don't grab my purse, I don't finish my wine, I just leave. He's been calling non-stop for 3 days. Voicemails where he's crying saying it was a mistake, he loves me, he got overwhelmed, he never meant to hurt anyone. His mom called me yesterday asking me to forgive him because he's under a lot of stress. I blocked him on everything this morning. The pregnant woman found me on social media and messaged me. She left him too. She said watching me hand her that ring made her realize she deserved better than someone who'd treat both of us like options. She seems nice. We're not going to be friends or anything, but I told her good luck with the baby. My sister thinks I should have stayed and made him sweat more. My best friend says I handled it perfectly. My mom is mad I didn't throw my drink in his face. But honestly, some of my coworkers are saying I was harsh, that people make mistakes when they're scared, that maybe he really didn't know what to do and I should have at least heard him out. Am I a jerk for just walking away without letting him explain? His mother showed up at my apartment with his grandmother and they wouldn't leave until I let them in. I made the mistake of answering the door because I thought it was my food delivery. Instead, it's the two of them standing there with this care package of homemade cookies, and his grandmother is already crying before I even say anything. His mom does all the talking. She sits on my couch uninvited and tells me he's devastated. He hasn't eaten in days. He's been staying at her house because he can't stand to be in his apartment alone. She keeps saying my boy made a terrible mistake, like he accidentally broke a vase instead of playing Russian roulette with 2 women's lives. His grandmother just keeps patting my hand and saying, "You were always so good for him." I ask them if they know about the other woman and the baby. His mom's face does this thing where I can tell she absolutely knows, but she says that situation is complicated. I ask what's complicated about getting someone pregnant while planning to propose to someone else, and she actually tells me that the other woman trapped him. I laugh, I can't help it. His grandmother looks offended. His mom explains that the pregnancy was an accident, that he panicked, that he didn't know what to do, so he made some poor choices. She says the proposal to me was real, that he really loves me, that the other thing was just him being scared and stupid. I tell them he literally told both of us he was choosing based on who handled his betrayal better. His mom says I'm misunderstanding, that I'm upset and not thinking clearly. She says the other woman is threatening to keep him from the baby if he doesn't pay her money. She makes it sound like extortion instead of basic child support. I ask them to leave. His grandmother starts crying harder. His mom says please just talk to him, give him one chance to explain properly. I say he had his chance at the restaurant and I'm done. She actually raises her voice at me and says I'm being cruel, that everyone makes mistakes, that I'm going to regret this. I open my apartment door and stand there until they leave. He texts me 2 hours later saying his mom told him I was softening and asking if we can meet for coffee. I don't respond. He sends 17 more messages over the next hour. The last one says, I bought the ring 3 months ago. I've been planning this forever. Please don't throw away 3 years over one mistake. One mistake, like the entire 8-month relationship and resulting pregnancy, was just an oops moment. The pregnant woman messages me again. She tells me his family contacted her too. His aunt called her a homewrecker. His cousin told her she should do the right thing and disappear so he and I could work it out. She's 5 months pregnant and they want her to vanish. She sends me screenshots of his mom offering her money to leave town. Actual money, like she's in a movie. The message says, I know this is hard for everyone, but amount redacted should help you start fresh somewhere else away from all this drama. I ask her if she's okay. She says no, but she's handling it. She blocked his whole family. I tell her that's probably smart. My best friend comes over that night and finds me just staring at my phone. She asks if I'm reconsidering and I say no. I just can't believe his family is acting like I'm the problem. She says they raised him. What did you expect? My coworker, the one who said I was harsh, corners me in the break room and says her husband cheated early in their marriage and they worked through it and now they're stronger than ever. She says fear makes people do crazy things. She says if I really loved him, I'd at least hear him out. I tell her he didn't cheat. He maintained an entire separate relationship while planning a future with me and only got caught because he's apparently terrible at scheduling. She says that's semantics. I'm starting to feel insane. Like I'm the unreasonable one for not wanting to marry someone who literally set up a game show situation with my life. My sister calls and says she drove past his mom's house and his car is there and she could see him through the window looking pathetic. She asks if that changes anything. I ask why it would. She says she doesn't know, she's just reporting. I keep thinking about that moment in the restaurant when he said he'd choose based on who handled it better. Like we were job applicants. Like betrayal was the interview question and whoever stayed calm got the position of girlfriend. The worst part is I keep wondering if I failed his test by leaving, if that's why his family is so mad, because I didn't perform heartbreak the right way. But then I remember her face when I handed her the ring, how she looked at it and then at him and just understood that we both deserved better. Am I making this worse by refusing to even listen to what he has to say? He showed up at my job yesterday and security had to escort him out. I was in a meeting when my coworker texted me that someone was in the lobby asking for me. I figured it was a delivery or something. I come down and he's there with flowers and this desperate look on his face and everyone in the lobby is staring. He starts talking immediately, saying he needs 5 minutes, that's all he's asking for, just 5 minutes to explain everything. I tell him to leave and he raises his voice saying, you won't even let me speak, you're being unreasonable. My boss comes out of her office because of the noise. She takes one look at the situation and asks if I need help. I say yes and she calls security. He's still trying to talk while the security guard is walking him toward the door. He's saying, this is insane, I'm not some criminal, I just want to talk to my girlfriend. I correct him loud enough for everyone to hear that I'm not his girlfriend and he needs to stop coming to my workplace. The security guard tells him if he comes back they'll call the police. He leaves but not before yelling that I'm going to regret treating him like this. I had to sit in my boss's office for 20 minutes while she made sure I was okay. She asked if I needed to file a report or if there was an ongoing situation. I explained the basics and she looked disgusted. She told me to let her know if he shows up again and they'll handle it immediately. I was shaking for an hour after, not because I'm scared of him but because I'm so angry he thought that was acceptable. The pregnant woman called me that night. She was crying. He went to her place too. She wouldn't let him in, so he sat outside her building for 3 hours. She eventually called the cops and they told him to leave, but they said since he wasn't technically trespassing on private property, there wasn't much they could do. She said he kept texting her saying the baby deserves a father, that he's trying to do the right thing, that she's being selfish. She told him the right thing would have been not getting her pregnant while planning to propose to someone else. He said that was in the past and they need to move forward. She asked me if I thought she should give him a chance for the baby's sake. I told her absolutely not. I said the baby deserves better than a father who views relationships like a competition show. She agreed, but I could tell she felt guilty. 2 days later, his best friend contacts me. We've met maybe 4 times total. He says he knows it's weird to reach out, but he felt like he needed to. He tells me my ex has been staying at his place and spiraling, drinking every night, not showering, calling out of work. I ask why he's telling me this. He says because my ex keeps saying if I just talked to him everything would be fine, and the friend wanted me to know that's not true. He says my ex has been lying to everyone about what actually happened. He told his friends and family that the other woman was a crazy ex who showed up to sabotage the proposal, and I believed her instead of him. I send him screenshots of the texts where my ex admitted to the 8-month overlap. His friend goes quiet for a few minutes, then just says, "Holy shit." He tells me my ex has been playing victim to everyone, saying I abandoned him over a misunderstanding, saying the pregnancy might not even be his. His friend apologizes for bothering me and says he needed to know the truth before he kept letting him stay there. The next day my ex starts posting on social media vague stuff about betrayal and how the people you love most will turn on you when you need them, how mistakes don't define you. His comments are full of people saying they're sorry he's going through this and asking if he's okay. I don't respond or engage, but the pregnant woman does. She comments on one of his posts with a single sentence, "Tell them about the paternity test you already took that came back 99.9% match." His post gets deleted 10 minutes later, then his whole account goes private. She messages me screenshots before he deleted everything. People were asking what she meant. Someone commented, "Wait, what, baby?" His cousin said this isn't the place for drama. She tells me she's done being quiet while he rewrites history. She's due in 3 months and she's not going to let him pretend this baby doesn't exist just to get sympathy from strangers. My mom calls me after seeing his posts before they got deleted. She asks if I'm sure I'm doing the right thing. I ask her what she means and she says, "He seems really torn up about this. Maybe he does regret it." I remind her he only regrets getting caught. She sighs and says, "I just don't want you to look back and wonder if you gave up too easily." I tell her I gave up the exact right amount. I hang up before she can argue. Yesterday I got a letter in the mail from him, handwritten, 6 pages front and back. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity got me. It's everything you'd expect. How he panicked when he found out about the pregnancy, how he loved me so much he couldn't imagine losing me, how the proposal was supposed to fix everything, how he knows he handled it wrong but his heart was in the right place. Not once does he actually apologize. It's all explanations and justifications. The closest he gets is, "I'm sorry you felt hurt by my actions." The last page says he's willing to do whatever it takes to earn me back. Therapy, couples counseling, anything. He says the other woman doesn't matter to him, that if I take him back he'll figure out the child support, but I'm the one he wants to build a life with. I burned it in my sink. Should I be worried he's going to keep escalating? The pregnant woman had her baby shower last weekend and he crashed it. She didn't invite me, but she texted me after asking if I could call her. When I did, she was still crying. She said everything was fine until halfway through when he showed up with a giant teddy bear and baby gifts like he was an invited guest. Her friends didn't know who he was at first. He introduced himself as the father and started making small talk with her family. She froze. She told me she didn't know what to do because causing a scene felt worse than just letting him stay. He gave a speech, actually stood up in front of everyone and talked about how excited he was to be a dad, how he knew they had their issues but he was committed to being present. Her mom was crying happy tears. Her aunt hugged him. She said nobody knew the real story except her best friend. Everyone else just knew she was having a baby and the father wasn't around much. So when he showed up acting like a devoted partner trying to make things work, they all bought it. After the shower he cornered her and said, "See, I'm trying." Like ambushing her celebration was proof of his commitment. He told her he's been in therapy and working on himself and he wants to co-parent properly. She said okay just to get him to leave. Now her family keeps asking when he's coming around again. Her mom wants them to do couples counseling. She doesn't know how to explain that he's not her partner without revealing the whole mess. I told her she needs to tell them the truth. She said she's too tired to deal with it right now and she just wants to get through the birth. Then yesterday I got added to a group chat I didn't ask to be in. It's him, me, the pregnant woman, and his mom. The message from his mom says, "I think it's time we all talked like adults and figured this out for the sake of the baby." I immediately left the group chat. The pregnant woman texted me separately saying she didn't know his mom was going to do that. She left too. His mom called me an hour later. I answered because I wanted to tell her to stop. She didn't let me talk. She went on this whole thing about how her son made mistakes but he's genuinely trying to fix things and we're both being stubborn. She said the baby needs stability and we're all being selfish by not at least attempting to communicate. I asked her if she would have married her husband if he'd proposed to her while maintaining a whole separate relationship with another woman he'd gotten pregnant. She said that's not the same thing. I asked how it's different. She said he's my son and I know his heart. I told her his heart is irrelevant and to stop contacting me. She said I'm going to regret being this cold when I'm older and alone. I hung up. My coworker saw the whole phone call because I was in the break room. After I hung up, she said his family is unhinged. It felt validating to hear someone else say it. But then my sister called me that night and said she ran into him at the grocery store. He looked terrible, lost weight, dark circles under his eyes. He asked about me, and when she said I'm doing fine, he teared up right there in the produce section. My sister felt bad for him. She told me maybe I should at least let him apologize in person because he clearly feels awful. I reminded her feeling bad isn't the same as being sorry, and she got quiet. I'm starting to feel like everyone around me is waiting for me to fold. Like they're all expecting me to eventually give in and hear him out because that's what people do in movies. The woman forgives the man because he's sad enough. The pregnant woman sent me a message this morning. She had her final appointment before the due date. He showed up at the hospital somehow knowing when her appointment was. She thinks his mom got the information from her mom. He tried to come into the exam room with her. The nurse asked if he was the father, and when the pregnant woman hesitated, he said yes. The nurse looked at her for confirmation, and she had to say biologically yes, but we're not together in front of him and the medical staff. He waited in the lobby the entire appointment, 2 hours. When she came out, he asked if he could take her to lunch to discuss a parenting plan. She said no. He followed her to her car asking questions about the baby's health and when she's being induced and whether she's going to let him in the delivery room. She told him she hasn't decided anything yet, and he said, I have rights, you can't keep me from my child. She got in her car and locked the doors. He stood there watching her drive away. She's scared. She told me she doesn't know what happens after the baby is born, if he's going to show up at the hospital, if he has legal standing to be there, if she can refuse him. She hasn't gotten a lawyer yet because she's been putting it off. I told her she needs to talk to someone who knows family law before she gives birth. She agreed, but I can tell she's overwhelmed. My ex hasn't contacted me directly in 5 days. It's the longest gap since everything happened. I don't think it's because he's giving up though. I think he's focused on her now because the baby is almost here and I'm the one who won't engage. Part of me wonders if he'll lose interest in me completely once he has the responsibility of an actual child. The other part knows he's going to use that baby as leverage somehow. She had the baby 3 weeks ago and he's not on the birth certificate. She texted me from the hospital the day she went into labor. I didn't expect to hear from her, but she said she needed someone to know what was happening in case things went wrong. Her best friend was with her, but she wanted me in the loop because I was the only other person who understood the full situation. He showed up anyway. She didn't tell him when she was going into labor, but somehow he found out and arrived at the hospital while she was in active labor. The nurses wouldn't let him into the delivery room because she'd already specified only her best friend was allowed in. He sat in the waiting room for 11 hours. When the baby was born, she had to make a decision right there about the birth certificate. The nurse asked if she wanted to include the father's information, and she said no. Her best friend told me later that she just stared at the form for a long time and then shook her head. He lost it when he found out, started yelling in the hallway that he has rights, that she can't erase him, that he'll take her to court. Security removed him from the maternity ward. She got a temporary order keeping him away from the hospital before she was even discharged. Her lawyer contacted him about establishing paternity and child support through proper channels. He has to petition the court if he wants custody or visitation. No more showing up at her apartment or ambushing her at appointments. He tried contacting me after, said this was all my fault, that if I'd just forgiven him none of this would have happened. He said he could have had everything, a family with me and a healthy co-parenting relationship with her, but I ruined it by being unforgiving. I blocked him on the last platform I hadn't already blocked him on. His mom sent me a final message before I blocked her too. She said I destroyed her son's life over pride, that he's suffering and I don't even care. That the baby is growing up without a father because I couldn't let go of one mistake. I didn't respond. The pregnant woman, she's not pregnant anymore obviously, sent me a photo of the baby last week. I told her congratulations and that I hoped she was recovering okay. She said it's hard, but she feels clear-headed for the first time in months. No more wondering if she should give him another chance. No more pressure from his family, just her and her daughter figuring things out. She said something that stuck with me. She said watching me walk away that night at the restaurant gave her permission to want better for herself. That if I could walk away from 3 years and a proposal, she could walk away from 8 months of lies. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just told her she's stronger than she thinks. My best friend took me out for my birthday last weekend. We were at dinner and she asked if I ever think about what would have happened if I'd stayed, if I'd heard him out or tried to work through it. I said no. She seemed surprised. But it's true, I don't wonder about alternate versions where I'm more forgiving or understanding. I don't lie awake imagining a reality where we worked it out, because the version of me that would have stayed isn't someone I want to be. My coworker, the one who kept saying people make mistakes, stopped trying to convince me I was too harsh. I think seeing him show up at our office changed her mind. She apologized last month for pushing me to reconsider, said she was projecting her own situation onto mine and it wasn't fair. My sister told me she saw him recently. He's apparently dating someone new already. She's younger, didn't know about any of this mess. My sister wondered if I cared and I realized I don't, not even a little bit. Whatever he does now is irrelevant to my life. My mom finally admitted she was wrong about me giving up too easily. She said she didn't understand the full picture at first, but after seeing how his family behaved and how he handled the birth situation, she gets it now. She said she's proud of me for knowing my worth. I moved into a new apartment 2 months ago. Bigger place, better neighborhood, somewhere with no memories attached. I'm seeing someone casually. Nothing serious yet, but it's nice. He doesn't know the full story, just that my last relationship ended badly. Maybe I'll tell him eventually, or maybe I won't. It doesn't define me anymore. The other woman posted a photo of her daughter on social media last week with a caption about doing it alone and being grateful for the clarity. His family commented with crying emojis and messages about hoping she'll reconsider letting him be involved. She deleted the comments. I thought about that night a lot in the beginning, the look on his face when she walked up to the table, the weight of the ring box in my hand, the decision to give it to her instead of throwing it at him or keeping it or making a scene. But I don't think about it much anymore. It's just something that happened, a door that closed, a version of my future that doesn't exist. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how I handled it, if I wish I'd done anything differently. I tell them the only thing I regret is not seeing who he really was sooner, but even that feels like wasted energy. I'm good now, actually good, not pretending or convincing myself, just living my life without the weight of someone else's lies.